attending our event today. Some of you have been attending our FedScore events for a few years now, and for that we're really, really grateful. For those of you who are here for the first time, we'd like to welcome you to our event today. My name's Leah England, and I'm a newly minted volunteer for the Lyme Disease Association of Australia. It has been a huge year for the LDAA with the Senate inquiry into Lyme disease and the public hearings in Perth, Brisbane and Canberra. I guess they weren't game enough to come to Melbourne. Too many feisty Limeys down here, and you're all here today, so thank you for that. On May the 4th, the Senate committee released an interim report recommending the inquiry continue under the new government to be elected in July. This is really important as there are a lot more for the Senate committee to investigate. Also, there is a lot we, the Limeys, can do to make sure that happens. Please think about approaching your local candidates to talk to them about your journey with Lyme and to encourage them to stand up and be counted for Lyme-like illness. While it is difficult to believe our health system could fail us so dismally, your stories and mine are the reality. Good politicians are moved to take action when they hear our stories. Take Senator Madigan, for example. He has been exceptional in his support for us. Thank you so much. I'm not sure if it's possible, but we'd like to find some more like Senator Madigan. We have a lot to do to engage the politicians, which is what the focus of the May Lyme project is this year. As patients, our goal is always to help them help us. Just let us know if you'd like some assistance. There are some clear instructions about how to approach your politicians on the LDAA website. Together we can do this. We are also fundraising this May as our annual campaign is vital to keep the Lyme Disease Association going. We are hoping that you will ask your friends and family to donate $10 in May. If you can think of someone who might want to make a donation but needs more information, please let us know via Facebook and we can give you a hand. For those here today that are new to Lyme, it's the fastest vector-borne disease that's growing in the Western world, so it's just massive. It is infectious, it can be deadly if it's not treated early, and it's not recognised here in Australia by the mainstream medical profession. Okay, though we've made some progress this year, thousands of sick Australians are still stuck in the great divide between the desperate reality and the denial of the health regulators and the medical authorities. There is widespread agreement from government and doctors Australians are becoming sick because of a tick bite. Even so, they claim there is no acceptable evidence of the American strain of Lyme, and they use that to justify denying Australians treatment and respect. Given that there has been no epidemiological, the big word, investigation and barely any current scientific research into what is making Australians sick, it is hardly surprising there is no scientific evidence. The Lyme Disease Association is asserting that we are the evidence. The patients are more important and more informative than bacteria or pathology. Together we can build momentum to change the ignorance and heartlessness that leave us suffering. Fortunately, we have a new ambassador to help us. The Lyme Disease Association is delighted to have Tessa Wallace on board as our new ambassador. We are so proud of what she has achieved, and we know her inspiring story will draw attention to this neglected illness. Tessa was diagnosed with Lyme disease a few years ago. Despite this, she has performed as a swimmer, representing Australia at the international level at the World Championships, the Commonwealth Games in 2010 and 2014, and the Olympics in 2012, all whilst battling this illness. Even more amazing is that the Australian Swimmers Association said she did it all with a smile. Fortunately, we Limeys, we have each other, and today our numbers and momentum and voice has increased with Tessa joining us. Please join me in welcoming Tessa Wallace.
Firstly, I'd just like to thank everyone for coming. I am absolutely honoured to be named the new ambassador for the Lyme Disease Association of Australia. It's a privilege. I am an Olympic swimmer, but I'm very, down to earth, and I struggle as much as everyone else here who has this illness as well. I decided to become the ambassador, which I've been wanting to do for a long time now. but I've just been, I guess, caught up with my swimming career, and it takes up a lot of my time and my health. So I'm really, really excited to be on board. I guess what I wanted to bring to this team was hope that there is a future in recognising this disease here in Australia. I didn't really know what Lyme disease was back in 2011 when I first became ill. As an athlete, we go through many, many struggles, and whether that be sick for, I don't know, just with the flu, which puts us out for a week. Everyone freaks out if they're out of the water for about a week. So, and we also get injuries, and we think those are hard times. And it wasn't until I came down ill and I was struggling in the water to swim, move my arms. It felt like I had bricks sort of in my arms and my legs, and I was constantly fatigued and glands and viral sort of symptoms, but that's just what it felt like. And then I was trying to swim against it for a few months, and eventually first got diagnosed with multiple viral, I guess, tests, so Epstein-Barr and parvovirus, which later on became my co-infections of Lyme disease. I actually went to the Olympic trials not knowing that I had Lyme disease, but was struggling incredibly, and it was a mental battle leading in, and it wasn't until 1 month out that I was able to put in some sort of training, and I went in and did not think that I would make Olympics at all. Somehow did a miracle race and qualified for the Olympic team. I thought that my health was going to be better from then on, and it's just declined. And it was that year that I was finally diagnosed with Lyme disease. My test clinically here in Australia, and then my test over in America as well, showed a very high positive reading for it. So I thought I was excited that I was finally diagnosed with something. I thought I could, have some positivity and hope now. And it wasn't until I realised the neglection of this horrible, horrible disease that Australia does not truly recognise. I thought, I guess it was going to be an easy ride, but it wasn't. And that's why I have the utmost respect for people with Lyme disease, because of not only battling this disease, but doing it in silence and with lack of support. And that's what made me want to step up. I couldn't hide anymore from anyone, and I wanted to get my story out there and hopefully use my swimming career to create more awareness and help you guys, because you don't deserve to be hidden. You need to be out there in the limelight. So I have a little excerpt from leading into the Olympic trials, 2 weeks, just to give you an idea of what sort of goes through my head when I'm in the darkest of times, because I know you guys all go through it. So this is 2 weeks out, and I was actually in a sauna at the time on my phone trying to just do something, because I was doing it twice a day leading into Olympic trials. I'm trying to stay positive. It's getting harder and harder each day. Every day it gets closer. Who knew that the toughest part of being an Olympic athlete was training your mind to believe you can do it no matter what. I think that has been this greatest lesson, and now my greatest asset, perseverance. Any normal, sane, level-headed person probably would have quit by now, but they're not weak at all. They probably would just smart, I guess, if they would do that. But my desire and dream to win and go to the Olympics was too strong to let any disease get in the way. I just finished my heart rate session for the afternoon. It was like every other quality I've attempted this month. Horrible. I feel aches and pains all throughout my body all day. So having to swim 5K really isn't going down too well with my body right now. But I can't give up. I'm many seconds off my best, and it's getting harder and harder to bear every day, because you're watching the days and weeks tick by with your body being stuck in this paralytic state, and you can't seem to do anything about it. that is the cruelest thing for an athlete, not being able to train, especially on the doorstep of the Olympic trials, which I've been through blood, sweat and tears for many years leading into. I guess you kind of describe it as what we call adaptation, where you feel dead for about a week. That's how I felt for months on end, and it was mentally I'm struggling, but I remind myself how strong the mind can be. I'm finding that positivity and hope again. Hope, a powerful tool. So I went to the Olympic trials and I stood down those blocks with aches and pains in my legs, which it's pretty tough to know you're about to try and swim your heart out to make the Olympic team, and you know you're not in the best state to do so. But I stood there and I stood strong because I knew that's the only way that I would be able to do the best race that I possibly could. And that's what we do as Lymies. We stay strong and we fight till the end. So that's pretty much what I was going through at the darkest of times. That was probably my hardest week throughout my career. And I managed to just go 1 second over my PB and just miss qualifying for the Rio Olympics. But considering my preparation, I was ecstatic that I was able to come third, I guess. It's still very disappointing, but I know there's still hope. That's what I stick with, and I have learnt so much perseverance through all this, and that's kind of what I want to bring to this incredible team, is perseverance and never giving up. Don't give up. You know, we can band together as a community, and hopefully I can help out with that and bring more awareness and, you know, bring everyone together to talk about it with everyone, people you know, and I guess all the electorates, make everyone aware, because this illness does not deserve to go unrecognised. And hopefully, yeah, that's what I can help out with, and I'm so excited to be here today, and thank you all for coming.
Thank you, Tessa. That's awesome. I'd like to welcome now our champion politician, Senator Madigan, to say a few words. Thank you.
Thanks very much, Leah, and what an inspirational speech from Tessa Wallace here today, who's pushed through enormous adversity and shown enormous strength and perseverance. And you're all endowed with that, every person here. And, you know, one of the most confronting things about this insidious illness is that it doesn't discriminate. You know, you look around here today and it doesn't discriminate between age or gender or where we live or what our background is. Everybody, every Australian can be afflicted by this disease. And I can remember back, the first time I heard about tick bites was about 23 years ago, when I was honeymooning with my wife, who's here today, up at Palm Beach on the northern beaches of Sydney. And I can remember my cousin's wife saying to me, whatever you do, don't walk out on the back lawn without your shoes on, and make sure that you do not get a tick on you. But at that time, I didn't know anything about Lyme disease, but it sort of went into the back of my mind. And then last year, when I was visited by the Lyme Disease Association in Canberra and my officers, it all came flooding back. And I can remember that, you know, my cousins would take their dogs to the vet to get a tick removed. But if a human gets a tick bite, well, you know, you go to buggery, who gives a continental? Now, so we treat dogs better than we treat people. It's an incredible situation. The Senate inquiry, as you'll all know, We've had 3 hearings. We've had one in Canberra, followed by also the one in Perth, and also the one in Brisbane. And the heartbreaking stories that people have shared about this insidious disease and the different ways it affects them, you know, neurologically, physically. The round table that I held in Melbourne, and I'm really pleased to see Alex Patson here today in a far better state than when I first met her up at the Commonwealth Parliamentary Offices up the road here behind the old Treasury building. So there is hope, and I encourage each and every one of you not to give up. There are some positive things that have come in the past 10 months, and that there is a heightened awareness amongst the general public about tick bites. Mentioning of Lyme disease, Lyme-like illness, more and more people are speaking about it. It was very heartening during the week when I was in southwestern Victoria with our country cousins, the dairy farmers, who are suffering. But speaking to the wives of the dairy farmers, they are aware of, and said to me, look, you know, we've got problems. A lady said to me only this morning on the phone, and she said, thank God I'm not suffering from Lyme disease or a Lyme-like illness. So in spite of the fact that they're facing enormous challenges, as I'm sure you would all recognise, their lives are being ripped out from under them, they have empathy with you. And I'm sure you have empathy with what they're going through. So, you know, we've got to focus on what unites us and not what divides us. We have to focus on some of the testimony that was given at the Lyme Disease inquiry. And one thing that springs to mind is Professor Peter Collignon, who, you know, I'm sure plenty of us here would be sometimes disappointed in what Professor Collignon says, but one good thing that I heard in it, we've got to focus on the positives and not the negatives, is that he said it is far better that you don't get bitten by a tick, you don't get bitten by a mosquito. So that's you know, a little bit of light that they're admitting that it is better not to be bitten by a tick. So it would follow on logically from that we need to educate the public, we need to educate nurses and doctors that if a person presents with a tick bite, that the tick is removed in the appropriate manner, that they have a duty of care to make sure that if a person presents, as I said, in a hospital or a surgery or a rural health practice with only a nurse, that the ticks are taken out properly and they know the right way to do it. That we need, you know, prevention is better than cure. That I would hope, I dream one day in the not too distant future that they might be proactive and they may give people a course of doxycycline so that we might prevent people from getting it. Because, you know, I've spoken to many people here today who said they've been suffering for decades and, you know, only being diagnosed recently. And maybe we could have saved all that suffering, possibly with a simple course of doxycycline that wouldn't have cost $50. You know, when we've got a governments of all persuasions who are obsessed with talking about money, but what point is there to money and what point is there to economy if we haven't got people? If people are the pinnacle of our society. Each and every life is precious. And for the young people who are here today, who can't express themselves, who are suffering, who can't articulate what it is and how they feel, this is just an absolute travesty. That children are the future. Wherever Australia is going to be in 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 100 years from now, will depend on our young people. It will depend on people like Tessa, it will depend on people like Alex, it will depend on the toddlers that are here today. These are the future of Australia, and we must be doing everything in our power, everything with our last breath to give them every chance that we possibly can to be the very best they can be and not to hold them back. And this disease is stunting their potential, and yet they've got so much to offer. That is a crime to deny people their potential. It is not weakness to have empathy. It is not weakness to have compassion. I believe it's strength. I admire each and every one of you, and you know, I will promise you this one thing, that I'll fight to my last breath to get justice for you, and that, you know, any time that you hear people that denigrate people, that vilify people, that ridicule people, you must ask the question, why? Thank you very much.
Senator Madigan, we, the Lyme community, here in Victoria are really proud of you and your achievements. Sorry. Thank you. It is with great love that we offer you this special and symbolic gift. This tree we would like you to plant in your garden. It is a finger lime. We hope that when you witness it grow, it will represent the growing relationship that you have with the Lyme community. This particular lime is an Australian native. We chose it because it symbolises the native disease we believe that we're being infected with. So thank you so much for your efforts. Thank you for coming today. And on behalf of Lyme sufferers in Victoria and in Australia, we say thank you.
I note here it's even got some lime grease slug pellets, so that's even more appropriate. And it'll have to be pretty hardy to live in our garden because there's not much that lives in it, I can assure you.
All right.